Welcome to Divinely Human, where divine wisdom meets everyday life. I'm your host, Sarah Asha Rose, therapist, author, and spiritual teacher. This is a space where psychology meets spirituality, where we explore healing, self-trust, and the journey of remembering who we truly are. So take a deep breath, settle in, and let's explore what it truly means to be divinely human. Welcome in, everybody. Have you ever kept on pushing and pushing and pushing through, even though you were physically exhausted, even though you felt like you wanted to give up? When was the last time that you asked yourself what your soul actually needed, what your spirit actually needed, versus what you needed to get done and what you needed to do to survive? Welcome to today's episode. Welcome to Divinely Human. If you're new here, my name is Sarah Asha Rose. I am a divine channel, spiritual teacher, therapist, and I used to think that my spirituality was separate from my humanity until I realized that the human experiences were here to help me remember who I really was. And instead of escaping my humanity, I learned to integrate it and become a wholer version of myself. And this is Divinely Human, where we talk about spirituality and psychology and what makes us divine, embracing our human aspects. So every Tuesday, we're here at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for being here. Today's episode, we have a guest who's a close friend of mine. She started out as my business coach, and I'll share a little bit more of that. But she is a nervous system coach and a yoga teacher. And today we're going to be talking about particularly burnout and nervous system healing, what causes burnout, and how do we reconnect to who we are before we burned out and before we started just going through the motions of life to survive. So, every show, before I bring my guest on, if you're watching for the first time, I spend a little time welcoming you into this intentional space because this show is a chance for you to create a sacred space to remember who you are. So before we bring her on, I'm going to share a little bit about survival mode, what it means to be in survival mode, why we burn out, what happens, and what you can do to get out of survival mode. You might not even know, Sarah, I don't even know what that is. I don't even know if I'm in that because, to tell you the truth, most of us are just surviving. We're not actually thriving because we don't know what it feels like. And this is all we've been taught. So, what is survival, right? You have 8 chakras, right? And you don't have to know anything about the chakras, but your base chakra is your root, right? It's what grounds you to the earth. It's what keeps you connected, right? And this is how we enter the world, through the root. Then as you climb up the chakras, you go up into the solar plexus, into your heart, right? All the way up into your throat, your third eye, and then your crown. Now, when we're talking about trusting ourselves, right, and thriving, we want to be connected. We want to be connected to our guidance, what comes from here, our truth, what comes from here, our heart, right? Being open to receive, right? All the higher aspects of being divine. But the human part, right? When we're in survival, just trying to get our basic needs met, right? It's very hard to connect to your inner guidance. It's extremely difficult to hear, right? It's very, very difficult to trust because I can't do this. I got to get by. I got to get by, right? I need money. I need money. I need money. So many of us, including myself, for years struggled with the concept of, law of attraction and, You have to assume it, law of assumption. You have to assume these things before you can become them, right? Because when you're saying, I want more, what you're saying is, I'm not enough. I don't have enough, right? But if you've always been in survival, right, it's very hard to change your mind, change your mindset, think I already have it when you don't physically have it, right? So the reason why I mention, the root is because most of us come in with survival issues, right? We're born into lack, right? Even if it's not poverty, we're born into lack mindset. Um, we're born into this conditioning that we are not enough, that the universe doesn't give us enough, right? It's kind of far out for people to imagine that this is an abundant universe. No, I gotta go out and do and have and conquer and create and action, action, action. So it's very difficult for most people to understand that that's only one part of it, right? So when you're in constant, I'm not enough, you're occupied, your whole being is occupied in survival. So, how can you connect to your higher being, your inner being that already exists when you're not enough? It's very, very hard to do that. Now, I want to give you an example of this. This shows up in relationships, this shows up in work and career, survival, not enough, not enough, have to have more. It's just like being in front of a television screen. It's very hard to see the bigger picture and to surrender and let go and allow the universe to help you and allow things to flow and allow opportunities in when you're right in front of the TV screen. So, what do you need to do? You need to separate, disconnect. So, just a quick note, in my own life, I've been in survival and just seeing how that leads to burnout. Because if you're always doing, and you believe you're alone, and that you have to do it all on your own, right? You're blocking the universe from connecting with you and bringing that vortex of opportunities to you. You're blocking that because you insist that you're all alone. And I've done this in my business countless times. I've done this. I have to do it everything. I have to do it. I have to do until you sort of learn the lesson that doing is only one part of the equation. Being, mm, being is the other part. So balancing doing and being to be in a state of thriving versus surviving. So before we bring Katie on in a couple of minutes, I just want you to sit with yourself right now and ask yourself, am I in survival? Am I just surviving? Is there any space and room in my life for just being, for just simply being? And that can look like creating space just to be, just to think, just to feel, just to walk in nature. How am I creating space for being, for thriving? How can I invite that in? And what would life look like if I allowed myself just to be, where I didn't have to do? And what if I wasn't alone? What if there was an abundance of support all around me, guiding me, assisting me, partnering with me? What would that feel like in my body? What would that look like in my life? And please, universe, source, consciousness, bring my awareness to the parts of me that are surviving. Where can I loosen up, let go of the reins? And if I don't trust that I am supported, how can I learn to trust? Please invite in opportunities for me to trust that I don't have to do it alone and that I can be, that I am enough the way that I am. La Kuturyanaha. And take a nice deep breath into that. Thank you for being here. If you're watching the show, if you're watching live on YouTube, please feel free to comment. We do put the comments up on the screen throughout the episode. If you have any questions that come up, we will answer them as well. And I'm so excited to bring on Katie Ekanayake. I hope I'm saying your name right. I always mess it up. She is a nervous system coach, and we're going to talk about her reconnection method. We're going to talk about burnout, and we're going to talk about getting out of survival and reconnecting to the larger part of you, the inner being. So happy to have her on. Welcome in, Katie. There she is. I was I was worried. I was like, where is she? Oh, I don't know if I can hear you. Can I hear you?
Can
Rebel
you
can Oh wait.
hear me now?
Yay, there we are. Okay.
I'm here. I'm so happy to be here. I was here. It was just a few tech issues coming in.
Okay, yay. So I always open up the show and I ask my guests, what does divinely human mean to you? How do you make sense of that? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, that's so funny that you're asking me that because I was thinking to myself, like, what is it for me? Like, what does that mean to me? Because I just think that, it's such a beautiful name for a
Thank you.
podcast. And I
Thank
think I think it's like for me, how I interpret it is it's accepting like all the parts of ourselves. So I feel like, I'm a spiritual being, but I'm human and I'm living here right now. So it's understanding that there are different parts to ourselves and we have to really love all those parts of ourselves. And I think
Yes,
for me, healing isn't about it's kind of meeting ourselves where we are and being
that's right.
nurturing and being kind, and knowing that whatever we believe in, whatever the bigger power for you believe in, whether it's God, spirit, universe, it's about learning to kind of come back to ourselves and find that compassion, awareness, faith, and just knowing that we're here having that experience and we're not going to be perfect. It's
Right.
finding our way home back to ourselves. So that's how I see it.
Yes. Well, that's exactly right. That's beautifully said. And I think the idea that we already are perfect and we're coming home to ourselves. So we need to have those human experiences
Yeah.
because that's what helps us remember, right? It's almost like if a higher power is like, okay, you chose to come here to remember who you are, and you have free will to create, mess up, and make mistakes. And then you're like, yay, I'm so excited. And then you get here and you just beat yourself up for making mistakes. It's like,
Yeah,
you
and I
know,
definitely have. Like, I've definitely been through my journey with healing and seeing it that I need to fix myself. I need to fix myself. Whereas now I see it as creating that safety, that awareness, and just coming back to who I am all the time because we have these experiences and we can learn and we can grow. And it might be painful and it might be really hard, but we can get really curious about it rather than being so unkind to ourselves.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I like how you said, I don't need to fix myself because I think when you view yourself as a problem or broken, right?
Yeah.
What does that do? What does that do to your body? What does that do? You're never enough, right?
100%. It separates you from that basis of what we are, which is love. And every time that we feel that and we feel that lack or that pain, or we think we need to be a certain way because that puts an impact on someone else, we're abandoning ourselves
That's
in some.
right. That's right.
And
Yeah.
we have to take that step back to ourselves and say, like, why am I feeling like that? And I think I used to think, I don't know if you felt like this, I was like an alien compared to a lot of other people
Of
because
course I think that. I still think
is there anybody, there are so many people like us, right? But it's just our like awareness and ability to love ourselves through it too is so important.
Yeah, and, I think something that I often talk about with my clients in therapy is every negative thought and emotion that you have it's just information, right? Like, you don't have to act on it, you don't have to believe it or buy into it, but when you try to just, "No, no." I'm not feeling that
Mm.
it's harder, right, to move forward into more positive, loving thought or emotion.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So, um, I would love for you to, well, first, maybe we can share how we met and then,
Yeah, it was amazing. Like, I still feel like it now because we've developed such a beautiful friendship, but from working together and working with you as a client, we're now like really close and we talk all the time. And
Yes.
I just think that the power of connection is everything that I do, but connection like from social media and whoever
Yes.
sees right now or sees it in a year's time, it's just insane how people can come into your life. Like you came into my life because I needed to support you, but I grew from doing that, and then you helped me in so many ways.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but I'll let you share a little bit from your perspective as well.
Yeah, so, and we've also connected on a personal level, on a friendship level, going through similar experiences,
Yes.
and, I'd love for you to talk about what you, why, every guest that I have on, I ask them some talking points, things that they wanna talk about, their expertise.
Mhm.
What does burnout mean to you? Because I know that was one of the things that you had
Mhm.
listed,
Mm.
burnout and survival mode. How has that shown up in your if you wanna talk about your personal life,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
or your career as well? Yeah.
it's for me, there was a really, really, if I go right back to the core of who I was always in this feeling underneath of not being good enough. So
Ah,
the
hello.
yeah, and that disconnection, because it was formed from some core experiences in childhood, and I do believe so much of what we come to in adulthood comes from our childhood and our parenting. Our parents love us, but they don't always do the best by us, and it's not from like a nasty energy, but it's we pick up things. And I think I
Right, we
very
internalize everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I operated from not having belief in just who I was, in the amazingness of who I was, even without doing, right? Just showing up in the
Yes,
energy of
just your
who you are.
beingness. Yes, yeah.
And now I live in that. Like I don't even need to do anything to be me because I'm whole and I'm amazing without action. But for such a long time, I think
Mm.
from childhood to adulthood, my burnout came from trying to prove all the time
Ah,
and do. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but we don't realize we're doing that, right? Until we are burned out,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And I also think that how I was parented and relationships that I've been in um, reinforce that not enoughness, because I was attracted to very avoidant people. And I
Mhm.
was searching for a love and validation. So, like
Yeah,
most recently, I've had the breakdown of like a 20-year relationship marriage,
yeah.
um, kind of looking at those people and without like going into everything, what I had attracted in my experience in my life here had been just reinforming that belief that I had almost, because I would burn out trying to prove something to them all the time.
Mm,
And over giving, people pleasing, becoming defined by that relationship with a parent, a partner, seeking that
mhm.
reassurance externally, which is why for a long time it was like if I do more and if they say that, I'll feel enough. But the enoughness does not come from outside, it comes from
Nope,
within.
that's right.
So survival mode and burnout just like the burnout just comes after all the hard work and all the belief and all the energy that we hold. We exhaust ourselves, and then you
Mhm.
get stuck. Your nervous system gets stuck in survival mode. So it just thinks there's something like scary
Yeah,
happening because you've been in like that cycle for such a long time. You
right.
lose touch with safety and
Right,
slowness.
because you're basing that safety,
Yeah.
that feeling externally.
Yeah.
So, you're always seeking that, you're always in that,
Yeah.
trying to get that, and it's just
Mhm.
never and then you get it, and it's just you need more of it because it's never enough,
Yeah.
right? Because it doesn't come from internal. Sort of like, oh, you're always performing your worth. That's right?
Okay. Yeah.
And you said it in your relationships and work, right? You're always performing your worth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing, like I got in survival because I would not necessarily be in it, but I would be like overthinking it, wanting to control and
Yeah.
just being in a constant busy mode because I don't know how to just sit and and be.
Yes. I think most
Um,
of us. Yes.
and you want it, you almost want to know what's happening next, and you become so strong at really carrying everything, um, and it's sometimes realizing that, and I've done it so much this year because I took a step back at the beginning of the year and said, this is not how I want to operate anymore. And you can receive more by doing less. That was a mantra that I kept repeating to
I
myself. I
love
received more
that.
by
I love
doing less.
that. Ah, I love that so much. Yes.
My
Yeah.
coping mechanism for not knowing what was coming, particularly, and a lot of people who listen to this will probably relate to it, particularly if they've been doing work where you're leading, you're your own boss. You
Right.
you have to just trust. And because I had this not enoughness, there was this self-belief that I couldn't make things work. So I had to do in order to receive. And then there is an element of taking action, but there's also that energy of self-belief and enoughness, and not being in survival mode created more for me. But it's
Right.
really interesting how we go back into patterns, because recently again I feel like I've slipped. So I have to
Mhm.
constantly do this work still now because I
Because
think I've had,
well, 'cause it's all that time it's unconscious, right?
yeah,
You're
that's
not
it.
realizing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You need constant sort of reminders of our enoughness and constant reminders of our beingness. You know, it's like a daily effort, I think.
yeah. And I think it's reminding yourself that even just you being alive and being breathing
Yes.
and being
Yes.
here today is
Yes.
amazing. Your
Yes.
presence will be
It's not.
impactful and enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what's so funny? I think most people hear that and they're like, "That's
Mm.
not tr that's not true. How could that be true?" You know? Because from the moment we're born, it's like, "Are you a good girl?" You know, and be a good do to prove your worth. So it's very ingrained. So
Yeah.
what do you think how so I'd love to hear how you sort of were able to come outside of this and shift it and what. Because for me, I think a lot of my wake up calls come from the aftermath of, "Oh,
Mm.
shit," like, "Oh, this isn't working."
Yeah.
It's the aftermath. It's like when I've been trying so hard to make something work and doors close, doors close, doors
Yeah.
close,
Yeah.
and the universe sort of, like, takes people
Yeah.
out, ending relationship, this person, so what does that look like for you? Or how what opened your eyes to maybe that I was in burnout or I was just surviving.
It's like an inability to even rest because you get into such a highly activated state. For
Mm.
me, it was just not being able to switch off or be able to do anything because I just
Oh.
felt like I was constantly having to survive because,
Mm.
um, for such a long, I think the not enoughness and that feeling and being in a relationship that wasn't supporting me, it was ultimately quite abusive. It
Mm.
reinforced that. So I was constantly feeling like I had to do in order to be able to live, to create money. So it was I just could not switch off. For me,
Mm.
like recognizing that I was like going to burnout and in
Yeah.
survival again. Because it's sometimes we've got that belief that is so ingrained in us that we just run off it all the time. But it's where you need to come back. I would say, like, the first stage when I worked through this, and it was, I would say, like 3 years ago when everything happened with my separation of my relationship. And I had to kind of build back, reconnect back to me. And I've always talked about like the connection to self in my work, the work prior to the work that I do now with nervous system and emotional healing. I was a sales coach, so I still do work around sales, but it was always
Yeah.
about connection to self. Everything comes from that safety, that love, that center within you. So I had to, like, we sometimes think we have to like do these like crazy ass like things to heal, and there is work and it's consistency, but it's actually like connecting back to safety, because when we're like
Yes.
activated, we're desperate to kind of do something to solve the problem because our brain just wants us to feel better. But when
Mm.
we
I feel
reconnect,
like I'm not doing enough, somebody
yeah,
said. I'm not doing enough.
yeah. Where
Yeah.
can I see these comments? I can't see them. You can see them though,
I
right?
can see them. Yeah, I have people commenting on YouTube, so I can see them because someone said, "I so relate to this."
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
so glad it's
yeah,
relating.
I feel like I'm not doing enough. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
most of us have felt like that at one point. Um, I'm
Yeah,
not doing enough.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think what I kind of did with myself is to kind of introduce a bit of a stop. So if I was kind of feeling activated or feeling um, overthinking or anxious or desperate
mm,
to do something or like wanting to react to something, it was like just sitting in the uncomfortableness, and it would be going to do
yeah,
something where I could come back into my body. And
yes.
the amount of times I would be told, just breathe. And I'd be like,
It's not enough. I need to do
it's
more than
not
that.
enough. My brain was like, I have to do this and I have to do that because I'm in this, like, I'm
Mm,
doing, I'm doing, I'm doing. But actually, your
yeah,
breath is what the cycle of energy that keeps us alive. So when we can ground into
yeah,
that, we can come out. So that's the first thing I did. I would just like, I would say, you know what, it's a bit like a traffic light. It's going red. I feel like I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to breathe. And
yeah,
I'd be like Amber, and I do this with my clients. I'm like, what do you do to regulate? So what are your things that help you come back into calm? And you'll know it because it's like being in that rest and digest state where you
mm.
feel, it's a bit like if you were chased by a tiger, like your heart's like, it's that feeling of
Well, that's
like you're in
survival. Yeah,
survival. So it'd be like,
yeah,
what helps you? And for me, like I find the shower is always great, or nature, like
me
anything that takes us into like
yeah.
movement.
Or petting your dog or your cat, you know?
Yeah, like come into a state of love. Like I feel it's like a state of love and balance that brings you back into safety. Uh,
Right.
and then I'd kind of come back to that situation once I felt grounded and be like, what's actually true? What do I need? And that used to
Right. Is
help
this
me.
actually true, right? Is
Yeah,
this thought what percentage of this is mine
yeah.
even, you know? We're just gonna take, a quick commercial break, and when we come back, I wanna talk more about that and how that shows up in, money,
Yes.
and I wanna dive into that a little bit. We'll be
Yeah.
right back, okay?
Okay.
Have you ever felt like you knew exactly what you wanted to say and then talked yourself out of saying it? Maybe you've questioned an intuitive message, or rewritten a post you wanted to share, or convinced yourself you're not quite ready to share what you know with the world. You see, most women think that they need more confidence, or a better message, or some other strategy that's going to teach them how to be more confident. But I don't believe that that's the real problem. I believe your voice has been shaped by unconscious survival patterns that once kept you safe, but now keep you hidden. And that's why I created my free voice archetype quiz. In just 2 minutes, you'll discover the unconscious pattern that's been quietly shaping how you trust yourself, use your voice, and share your gifts so you can stop second guessing yourself and start remembering the woman whose voice was there all along. Visit quiz.sarah-asharose.com and take the quiz today. Okay, we're back. I do have a little QR code for that quiz if you guys are interested in taking it. Um, so when we're talking about being enough, right? How does that relate to money? Because I think this is something that I know we've both talked about a lot.
Yeah. We've talked about it a lot, haven't we?
And most people struggle with. I think we think that money is a thing, but rather it's a vibration, right?
Yes.
And it's very connected to our emotions, right? So I think most of us have been taught to believe it's something we make or do. We have to do something to get it.
Mm.
But I love how you were talking about this concept of doing less. Oh, there's the QR code of doing
Yay.
less, of doing less to receive more.
Yeah.
Um, So how does that show up as far as money and letting go of those beliefs that I have to do all this to get money, and how we block money when we are sort of like in that state?
Yeah, because I think we get into if you're in a survival mode, we go into sometimes into the lack around money because our energy goes into
Like,
I need this.
yeah. Which
Um,
means I don't have it, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So the worst thing you can do is try and make money in that state. But you're like,
right.
oh my God, I need to do it. Like I can't just sit here and do nothing.
Or the type of people you attract, right?
Yeah.
Who
So
are
you
also fearful or in lack. Yeah.
and you attract situations where it like either reinforces again a belief if like you believe that it's hard to make money or you don't feel good enough. Like if you're feeling good and you love what you do and you have belief in yourself and you know that you are enough, there is nothing for you to prove to anyone because just who you are and your experience will always be there. Whatever it is that you do, there will be someone there that you can help, or whatever it is that you do is going to impact. If you hold that so strong and you feel so good about that, you're not
Yeah.
thinking about, I need to make money. You're thinking, what I do is so valuable. I'm valuable. Like you're vibrating at such a high frequency.
You're lit up by joy of
Yeah.
what makes you feel good. Right.
But it's what you focus on because if you've had your actions and your life. And it may be like for me, it was being fed other people's fears and other people's stuff about
Yeah.
them, like particularly like in relationships that, you know, you can't make money doing your own thing or you're not very good at that. And then you start to believe other people's, like, I don't want to swear, but it's all that stuff. I was just going to swear that. I was like, I won't. But you start to
All their baloney nonsense.
yeah, the BS and the nonsense. And it's it's your own like self-talk because but money responds at which you believe in. If
That's
you
right.
believe there is money everywhere, there is money all the time. Like people say,
Yeah.
oh, people don't have a lot of money. It's like it's all those beliefs that we pick up from childhood, from parents, from other people,
Yeah.
and from our own patterns, our own coping mechanisms, like our
Yeah.
attachment to how we've received money in the past. Like,
Yeah.
what if for one day you just said, I am open to receive money, and money can come in various ways, right? But if you
Right.
don't really truly believe that, if you're shut off,
Yes. Yes. So
right?
that's the challenge, right? So
Yeah.
let's talk about if you don't believe that, how, right? Like how do you feel that in your body? How do you bring that into your beingness, your consciousness if you don't yet believe that? And right, if it's not in the
Yeah.
physical, you're gonna have to like ignore your circumstances, right? And you have to turn inwards.
Yeah, my inwards advice for that, and it will be different for everyone. And I think when you tune in, you all know when you come out of panic. But for me, it was coming back into my body and regulating and doing the things that brought me joy, which was not how can I make money, which is
Right,
when
sort of
you're
like switching the
able.
channel, like, with a distraction
Yeah,
or
yeah.
yeah,
But the other thing for me was the whatever your faith is, that we are supported. That was turning on that belief because I got to a stage, and it wasn't that long ago, where I was like, I do not know where the money's going to come from, literally.
right,
Everything was falling away. I was taking like action, and I was still in like not action from a like
that's right.
because I'd
Yeah,
stopped.
yeah,
It was always, I'll take the intuitive guidance, I'll reach out to that person, I'll do this. And I just surrendered and just trusted that
yes,
what was the worst that could happen. And
yeah,
I ask upon something bigger, whatever that was. And at that point, I was like, I don't know who it is, but I know I'm going to
yes,
be supported. I just knew that there's only so much sometimes we can feel and do. And sometimes you get to a state, and you may have got here, where you just say, I surrender. I remember watching like Oprah Winfrey talking about surrendering. I
um,
often, when I
what'd
get
she
to that,
say?
yeah, and she talks, it's like a really good YouTube that she talks about. Literally, she just keeps saying, I surrender. Because you know, when you feel like
Yeah,
you're on your knees and you're on your ass, and you think,
yes,
I do not know, I have done everything. So
right,
I
right,
just prayed. I prayed. Like I'm Christian, so for me, I pray to God. For you, it might be something else. But I had done everything. And sometimes we can't see the way forward. We've done all that we can do. So we just actually have to stop.
Right. You have to surrender to what you can't see
Yeah.
because what's that expression? We make plans and God laughs, you know? It's
Yeah.
like you have this idea of what making money looks like, but that's a
Yeah.
very limited, but there might be, so like in your mind, in your box, it's like, this is what it looks like. But
Yeah.
maybe there's this other thing vibrating here,
Yeah.
floating out in the vortex, and you're like, "No, no, no. This is."
Yeah.
How are you going to allow that in if you're so, blindsided, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's like you have to surrender. And I think for most people, we think surrender means doing nothing. I'm not doing enough. Like someone said, I'm not doing enough. If I surrender, what do you mean? I'm lazy? I shouldn't do anything? But no, that's not what surrender actually is. So, can you go into a little bit more of what that surrender? It's actually an action, isn't it? It's a passive action, the choice to surrender.
Yeah, it's
Um,
just for me, it was saying, I'm handing this over to you. I'm handing this over to you because I have given my whole heart and everything to this. And I
right,
have no other answers now. So please help me. Please
right.
help me.
Yeah,
And but I also did something else, which was to say, do you know what? I believe that things will turn around because sometimes when everything falls apart, you can go into extreme panic, but that's the
yes,
time the transformation's coming because something new is coming or
right.
clarity is coming. And at that moment that I had that, it was probably just before, like it was June time. It was like, okay, bring me another opportunity for my sales consultancy that's really aligned, that feels good, that's supportive, that's loving. And I had the most insane way of that coming through from someone that I went to school with like years
Wow.
ago, reaching out to
Yeah,
me, conversation. But then I also thought, what do I love that I'm not doing? Like, what do I want to do that I've not been doing? I've been saying for ages I wanted to hold a yoga, like a very short retreat
yes.
for midsummer at a house. And I literally just sat and visualized and thought, what do I feel great about doing? And it wasn't necessarily how can I make this amount of money. It was like, what are all the things that I could do that I would love to do that would feel aligned without it feeling like I'm doing it because I'm like really need this. It's like what
Yes.
pride,
Yeah.
how can I show up? And I decided that I was going to do it. And then within about 2-3 days, I'd sold like 20 spaces and it had sold out. Um, because
Because
I just,
that's inspired action, right?
yeah,
So you're acting, so I think that's the key, right? Like, you don't have to take action to make something happen. You sort of check in first.
yeah,
It happens energetically first, like, "What do I love? What would this feel
yeah,
like?" And I see it and I feel it, and it's in my backyard, and this
yeah,
and then when you're in that state, you're inspired to then create the sign up form for it and then
yes,
promote it,
yes,
and then the action comes, right?
yeah, yeah.
Instead
You
of
have to come back
I
to
have to do
safety,
that.
come back to a sense of safety just to know, like, I think it was like, have you heard of Byron Katie? She's a
Sounds
like thought
familiar.
leader.
Yeah,
I watched
yeah,
something of hers years ago, and she's like, "What's the worst thing that can happen?" Because we have this like, what if we don't have any money? What does that mean? Because that's
yeah.
it's like a, it's not the money. I was like, it goes back to like the enoughness for me. Like, what if I
Yeah.
can't? And it's like, where did I form that belief? Because
Mm.
even if I still feel a little bit of fear, I'm like, well, I have my faith. I am never going to be sent anything that I cannot rise back from, or I
Mm.
won't be supported with,
Mm.
because I'm still standing and I've been through some horrible things. So
Right.
it's just having that trust that, yeah, come back to you. But I had to send to myself before I did any of those things because I was feeling like, oh my goodness, this is
So
not great.
talk a little bit about the safety and a little bit more about the nerve, because this is sort of the work that you're doing now.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about how you would do this with clients, or about the safety in the body and reconnecting with yourself, and maybe how you do that in your work and why that's so important? Like, because I talk about safety a lot too, and I would love for you to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I think for me, it was understanding kind of what core beliefs I was operating from.
Mhm.
For me, like, it was okay, so where are these forming from? And for me it was like a breakdown of a marriage, having like a real survival mindset around money, and really exploring like are those my beliefs or were they someone else's. So I often will sit with
Mm,
my clients and understand why, what has got them to the point that they are at, because it's
mm.
go quite far back, and it could be an event, but it can also be how we've been operating now. It goes back to like a core belief, doesn't it? We've switched from love into fear, and it's
Mm.
understanding when those things started to happen, and then it's a bit like just piling loads of things on top of it, because it's like you might have that belief form and then you reinforce it with some
Yeah,
situations. It's core
yeah.
trauma that we
And then
have.
it becomes felt in your body. Your nervous system responds to that,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I just knocked my son's dinosaur. Did you hear
Oh
that?
my God. I was like,
That is,
"Rrr." I didn't know
that's
that.
so funny because it's in a box. That is hilarious.
That's so funny. It was confirming what we were talking about. It was validating.
But it's really understanding like where that has come from, because what I can then see, and it was the same with me, you kind of see the patterns because you just go in a cycle. So you'll just repeat the same thing again with something else or in similar situations.
Sure,
Um,
because it's coming from within you,
yeah,
right? And the universe is responding to that
yeah,
felt vibration, right?
yeah.
It's we're sort of creating it, which I think is like, like, but at the same time, it's also like,
Yeah,
because
because you can reconnect to a different belief, because it's like you can start to question, is that true? So I looked at myself and I was like, is that really true?
yeah,
Where did that form? Because I did a lot of work in therapy with an amazing therapist to understand like my attachment to validation and to
yes,
enoughness.
yes,
So
right,
it's helping that person to kind of see where that formed. But for me, it was just like having mantras that I repeated to myself and reminding myself every day when because what we often hear is an internal voice, and
yeah.
then we act upon that. But it's starting to, is that me or is that someone else? Because
Right,
that
is
then,
that really me?
yeah, if
Yeah,
that will then drive you into this fight or flight, because your system is just operating off a feeling and a thought that you keep repeating. So it's saying, is that my thought? What is it I want to choose? And why do I believe that? So it's doing that daily work and sitting down. And I had to like sit down every day, and almost what I did was created a script in Chat GPT where I talked to myself and answered the same questions every day, because it was the repetitiveness of questioning.
it is repeated because it was formed through repetition, right?
Yes, and that's it. To
Yeah,
reconnect back to ourselves, we have to kind of come back to like, what is it that we truly believe about ourselves? Because we can take on an identity that's
yeah,
been formed because of how we've related into others and beliefs that we formed. So we
yeah,
get to question that and say, who is Sarah? Who is Katie? Without all the stuff, because you're running around, you're somebody's mom, you're someone's um
mm,
dad, you're a partner, you might be running a business, you're supporting other people, and you can take on lots of other stuff around that, and it's like, who are you at your core? um
before the world taught me, like, who I was, who
yeah
am I really, right? Yeah,
uh,
um, yeah, no,
and,
no, go on. Yeah,
and I was going to say the other thing that I did was to just slow the hell down, do less, because
yeah,
being I'm trying to remember your original question, but if you're in survival and burnout, your body is just stuck in a loop. So what we needed to do
yeah,
is to come back into rest and digest. So part of that is our own self-taught, our own beliefs. But it's and the other thing that I do is what I talked about earlier is just, if we feel activated, to go through that process of like, what's activating me? Like,
yeah,
what can I do to calm that?
what's
Is this
activating
true?
me? Yeah,
Because you have like that will probably come up from things you think, but we're
yeah,
all going about our lives and there's people interacting with us all day long, so that puts you into that. So
yeah,
situations, work, relationships, like, you might still be having to deal with that person that's caused you a lot of pain, and that was for me. I had to get to a point where it's like I had to take that voice out, because that voice created this identity of this person. Of it reinforced the not enoughness, and I am strong and I am powerful and I'm loving and I'm not
Yes.
someone like I
Yeah.
turned into this little like um
Lesser version of yourself.
yeah.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it's also taking time to just do the things that bring you joy and nervous system balancing, which is breathing, like the best thing that you can do. Uh,
Yeah.
Simple breathing, like box breathing, like I used to do, like breathing in for 4, out for 4, in for
Oh,
4,
okay.
out
You do
for 4.
the breath of fire, that
Yes.
kind of breathing too? Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many different ways of breath, but you can tell when you're activated because you might be feeling anxious because it just doesn't feel good, or you feel like you're constantly waiting for something to happen. Because particularly if you've been like I had been in that situation where I always felt on edge, but I didn't realize why, because I was constantly trying to do the best to keep someone else happy, and that wasn't making me happy.
Right. Yeah.
So
I love how you talk about being activated because I just had this awareness, like, sometimes when I would take an action,
yeah.
uh, my mood, my feeling, would change if I didn't get the reaction that I wanted.
Mm,
And I started to recently realize that and become really conscious. Oh my God, I was just in a really good mood and I did this and I didn't get the reaction I wanted. And now my mood has totally shifted. That to me is being activated because
mm.
my whole demeanor, my whole mood just changed based on this external thing. So can I take action without being like, can I just take action without being influenced on what the reaction is? Like,
Yeah, I completely relate to that. Because it's like we form someone else's reaction as
and
a
that means something, we make that mean something, right?
yeah, because whatever someone does, it shouldn't change who you are. But quite
Right.
often we're looking for someone to acknowledge or to
Yeah.
respond in a positive way for
Yes.
us to feel good. But we have to feel good regardless of what goes on around us. Now,
Right.
I don't think anyone can say 100% they do, because we're an emotional being, we're humans, which is why we have to remind ourselves about what makes us truly happy. And people are still going to do stuff, but you can't make everything that someone responds to you mean something. Like your day cannot be driven by
No,
that.
no, because then you'll be scattered and,
Yeah.
um, we have a couple of minutes left. I'd love for
Yeah.
you to talk specifically about how you work and if people wanted to work with you, where they could find you.
Yeah. So a lot like my work came from really leading myself through the identity work that I had to do to rebuild myself after my marriage ended. But it wasn't just that. I think this is just giving people context, but it was like operating from a deep core belief that had formed from childhood, which had
Yeah,
really like interwoven into the patterns of my life,
sure.
the connection I had to myself. So everything I was doing was very disconnected and always to keep everybody else happy. And I'd
Mhm.
lost self-belief, I'd lost confidence, because I was operating from a place of fear and panic, because it was always about the validation or about receiving love, because I didn't feel that within me. And I,
Yes.
yeah, so like it's so common though, like we all have
Yes.
path that we've been on. And I
Yeah.
truly saw it when me and my like partner split, because I realized my whole identity had attached to him, but I also realized I was doing it from like parents too and in other areas of my life. So I had to reconnect back to myself and
Ah,
really
okay.
understand like
Yeah.
where I'd become disconnected, like where were those core beliefs and fears, but also, you know, what was I doing to reinforce that all of the time? Like what was I telling myself? Um, but also really which is where like yoga came in for me, because the movement and the connection back into body and breath helped me to ground and stop me from being in this cycle of like panic.
Mhm.
But for my clients, it's helping them to create like that safety menu that they can go to.
Oh, I love
um,
that safety menu.
yeah,
Yeah.
like a safety menu, and understanding like doing that deeper work, which is actually like deeply upsetting. And I did a lot of this work with a therapist.
Yeah.
But I've always known that I'm a healer in the work that I've done and the path that I've walked.
Yes.
To help others to really connect to those emotions, because what I feel that I bring in the work is I have that intuitive nature of understanding where that belief and fear is, because sometimes people can't see it. And I think it's just because I've
Yeah.
lived it for such a long time, like I'm 43 and I've been through different cycles of me and life and motherhood
Mhm.
and seeing it happen. So I created the reconnection method, which is a way that I could help people to reconnect to safety, to bring their nervous system back down into like safety, and then reconnection to self, like who they actually truly are without all of those beliefs operating, understanding, how are they attaching to other people in relationships. And that might not be just romantic, but it's like how we relate into families. And then moving them into the future of like who they actually want to be, like who they truly are without all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's emotional healing work, but it's also resetting your nervous system, which is actually just coming into understanding, like, how do you show up in the world, what do you think, but also what are you doing to nurture yourself? Because I was just abandoning myself. I was a mom, I was a partner, and I was always giving and doing for other people. So it was like bringing myself back into like, what are the things that nurture me, and that bring me back, and understanding those patterns of what you would do if something happened. Because I worked with a client recently, and their deep core fears and beliefs just they kept repeating these patterns that just meant all of their relationships were so, what's the word, like it's like they were constantly in conflict all the time, and their life just felt like they were like fighting with people. So it's really taking people through that method to understand like where they've become disconnected and reconnect them back to who they truly are, because you've just
That's
lost yourself
beautiful.
in the way.
All
But you're
right.
there.
So so we had, Katie's website scrolling at the bottom. You can find her, and, we've run out of time. It went by so quick.
Yeah.
Um, I wanna thank you for being here. I think this was a fabulous show, and just if you could give one bit of advice before we close, one little tidbit, what would that be?
Just remember like the truth of like who you are, like before you were told what to
That's
be.
right. Love it. Yes, perfect.
Just
I love
love
it.
yourself. It was great to be
Remember
here.
who
Thank
you
you.
are.
Yes.
Remember who you are.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week on Divinely Human. Love to you. Bye, Katie. Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye.
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 Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. However, this episode met you, I hope it reminded you of something you already knew underneath the noise, that you are exactly where you need to be. Until next time, remember, you are and have always been divinely human.